Hi everyone, this is Steve Palladino from Palladino Power Project, bringing you another video on the SuperPower Calculator. I want to show you in particular one nifty little calculator function for CP testing and arriving at a treadmill based weight. So let me give you a little bit of background. Because most people use a Stryd wind pod, which reports air power, and because when you go from outdoor where air power is reported to indoor on a treadmill where air power is not reported, you're going to have different power figures reported for the same effort. So if you're carrying out training, you want your power targets to be relative to something that is valid. And so there's two ways of doing it. Is you have a lower critical power or FTP on the treadmill versus outdoor because you're not getting the air power reported for the same effort level. That's one way. And that's the way I used to do it, is just you have an outdoor FTP and an indoor FTP, or outdoor CP and indoor CP. I don't do that anymore. What I do is I adjust the Stryd pod weight setting to account for that difference. So let's say outdoors is 3% higher than indoors because you're losing that 3% air power. What you do is you adjust weight setting up 3%. So now the weight setting accounts for that lack of air power reporting, and you can run from the same exact FTP as you use outside, or the same exact CP as you use outside. The other advantages of doing it this way is your training load metrics are going to be more accurate, and your power duration curve is based on the same relative FTP. Let me show you a little feature that Steve Bateman built into this SuperPower Calculator. He's the guy that builds all these wonderful calculations into the SuperPower Calculator, and he built this one in here, which is pretty nifty. So I usually will have my athletes do CP testing outside, even though we may want to use that CP for inside, or use that testing to determine treadmill testing. I'm going to stop there and put one caveat here. Non-motorized treadmills, just stop this video, and we'll talk about it in another video. This does not apply. To actually get the conversion factors, you have to test on a non-motorized treadmill and test outside. So you got to test in both environments, as opposed to a motorized treadmill where you can make these calculations. So let me progress, or let me continue, but keep in mind that this is for a motorized treadmill. So I'll have my athletes do their CP testing outside, and then we can get not only the average power for their test sessions, in this case 444 watts for 3 minutes, 398 watts for 11 minutes and 55 seconds for this particular athlete, but we could also get their air power. Now, You can always toggle these wherever you see one of these arrows. You can toggle and change your units. We're using percent air power, which is what's reported in Stryd. But in WKO, I can get actual watts, etc. But for this video, the athlete had 4% air power during this test, 2% air power during this test. And it usually is a little bit higher in the shorter test because you're running faster. The faster you run, the higher the air resistance. So air power is not simply a function of wind. It's a function of the runner's height and weight, in other words, their frontal area, their running speed, and wind intensity and direction. So it's all of those: wind intensity, wind direction, height and weight for frontal area, and running speed. That determines what air power is. So it's not wind, it's all of those. So naturally, if you're running a lot faster in a shorter segment, the air power should be a little bit higher. All else being equal, I should say, because there's multiple factors. So all else being equal, it should be higher air power. So back to the concept here. So we have selected from the drop-down menu the calculate FTP from an RWC from a CP test. We've entered the test values, including their percent air power. We come back to the main table and note that I put in 75 kilograms for this runner. The runner's stride weight, their stride weight. So you scroll down here, and here's the outcomes of those testing. The critical power is reported as 382 watts. All right, but when you take away air power, the critical power minus air power is about 378 watts in this case. So 378 watts. That's critical power minus the air power, which is just for the running, climbing portion. That's just that power. Oh, by the way, that's also what you're going to get on the treadmill because you're not getting air power reported. So this is relatively the same threshold power on a treadmill as running outdoors because no air power. Now, here's Steve's little calculator that really works cool. Notice that it draws in the weight setting, 75 kilograms, that we put in it for the stride weight up here in the basic data entry. And it computes the weight setting that should be used if running on a treadmill. So this is the corrected weight setting to account for this relatively lower threshold power. So if the runner uses 75 kilogram weight setting outside, this is their threshold power, their critical power that they should run off of. If they're running on a treadmill, they reset their weight setting to 75.9 or 76 kilograms, and they could still use the same critical power because this is going to inflate the power by the same amount that you lost when you lost air power running on a treadmill. So, pardon me, that corrects that based on what you put in for this air power for each segment. All right? Now, I'm going to throw in one more element. I've done other videos on calculating threshold power for treadmill, etc. This one we're focusing more on that weight setting to allow for the adjustment, to use that same FTP that you use outside also on the treadmill. Remember, let's say this runner ran it outside on a cold day relatively cool day. But they're inside, they're running in a different environment. They're running at warmer temperatures. Outside, it may have been 60% humidity, but inside, particularly if there's not really good fan on that treadmill, as a wimpy fan, the local humidity right around that runner's body, because they're sweating, they're creating their own immediate environment of humidity, is going to be higher. So I just put in 80% just to sort of guesstimate that. So now we've corrected not only for the loss of air power, but we've corrected for the warmer and higher humidity conditions in the target environment. That's the treadmill. So we scroll back down. Now look. Now it says the weight setting should be 77.6 kilograms. All right. And that is because your threshold power, your critical power, minus the air power, and with the warmer, more humid conditions on the treadmill, the threshold effectively is 369 watts. So pretty significant drop. Actually, that's about a 3.5% drop. So what the calculator does is it calculates the treadmill weight setting to account for all those variables: loss of air power, higher temperature, higher humidity. And so this runner would run at 75 kilograms outside and use the 382.5, or call it 383 kilogram or watts. That would be their outside FTP CP from which the base power targets, with a 75 kilogram weight setting. But if they go to the treadmill, again, losing air power, warmer, more humid, they would set their weight setting or reset their weight setting specifically for that treadmill at, we'll just call it 78 kilograms. So you change it to 78 kilograms, and that's going to correct. So you could use this same FTP, the same targets that you would use outside, you could use on the treadmill, but now with a higher weight setting. So kudos to Steve on this little nuance, this extra little piece on the calculator. Makes things much easier for runners to have an outdoor FTP CP that they run at with one weight setting, and then use that same FTP CP on a treadmill corrected to this higher weight setting. Hopefully this was helpful and useful for you if you do run in both environments. Play around with it, and hopefully it works well for you. Thank you for watching. We'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.